All right. Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the RecPoker podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fredlund. And as always, we are joined by our illustrious panel tonight. Jim Reid, Chris Jones, Andrew Feist, John Somsky joining the crew here. Thanks to our official sponsor, Running Aces Racetrack, Casino, and Hotel, and our other podcast sponsors, Learn Pro Poker and website AMP. This is episode 186, and today we've got Chris Moneymaker. The real deal is in the house. Before we jump in with Chris, one quick thing, make sure you go to rec.poker/resources, your one-stop shop for all of our partnerships, the additional discounts, all of that stuff. It's the last week where you can get one free week of core. Go to redchippoker/recpoker, use the code recpoker, and also the Learn Pro Poker Summer Sale ends Wednesday. So check that out. We'll hear from Andrew later with some details. But with that, we're going to bring in Chris Moneymaker. And unless you've been under a rock, you know that he is the 2003 WSOP Main Event champion. Wrote a book, the autobiography Moneymaker, How an Amateur Poker Player Turned $40 into $2.5 million at the World Series of Poker. So with that, welcome in Chris Moneymaker.
What's up? Is this the first time I've been on the show?
It is. You know, you joined us for, we did a play and hang where there's a few of us just kind of hanging out, and you jumped on there graciously enough and kind of hung out with us for a little while. But this is the first time you've been on the podcast.
So you're telling me you've had 185 other shows, and I've never been on this damn podcast once.
Dude, you're elusive. You know, when we launch RecPoker, who do we think of? We think of Chris Moneymaker. We've yet to, this is the first time we've been able to.
Six, obviously.
We haven't been able to get through your masses of protectors to get to the man, the myth, the legend. So it's not for lack of effort. We just it finally took. I like you changed the name to 186. It took Jim Reid to jump in there and use his magic touch to actually connect with your people. So no, we've been wanting to get you on. So this is a big day for us.
That charity tournament. It was that charity tournament in Toronto, Chris. You were such a good sport showing up and sharing your time with that great cause, and we just had to make it happen once I got you face to face. So thank you so much for coming today. This is going to be great.
Yeah, my pleasure. That was a fun event. Unfortunately, I don't know how many events we're going to be having like that in the near future, but no, it's been a long time since I've been out on the road. I wouldn't say I'm getting homesick, but it's not too bad here.
Yeah. Well, let's make sure everybody's up to speed on where home is now.
Home is just outside of Memphis, Tennessee. I live down in Olive Branch, Mississippi now. My wife's from here. That's kind of the reason why we live here. Although I've been trying to force her to move for the last 7 or 8 years. I thought I had her for a while. We were looking to move to Vegas or to California. But I had her almost in the boat and she got off the hook. I'm about to throw the line back in the water here after the quarantine's over. I'll be honest, with the quarantine going on, we couldn't have been happier of having where we are because we have a lot of land, we have a lot of room, and it's made it. I mean, if we lived out there anywhere else, I think we would be really upset. We're away from everybody. So, riding four-wheelers, riding golf carts, swimming in the pool, and avoiding people. It's been really easy compared to what a lot of people are dealing with. So I'm kind of glad we didn't move during this time. But if we don't have another pandemic, then I want to get out of here.
Well, you said Olive Branch, Mississippi. That sounds like a pretty peaceful place.
It's country. It's quiet.
It's country. Well, we have so many questions, and the panel will be kind of firing in from time to time here. But, and I know you've been asked, the same question over and over again. So we'll try to be a little bit creative in what we do. But I think for me, the most interesting piece of your journey that I'm intrigued by is, it's the Moneymaker Effect. We're familiar with the story. The average attendance was, 600 or whatever. They had 800 people play. 839 was the field that you got through when you won the main in 2003. The next year it triples to like 2,600 people. The Moneymaker Effect is something people have quoted all the time, and we can talk about that. But I'm most interested in now, as we are 17 years later, if how you feel about that. Like you're a piece of poker history. Your name gets put out there quite a bit when we talk about the growth of recreational poker. Like, is there a pride in that, or is there what's sort of your reaction when you hear that, or are you kind of sick of hearing about it?
I'm not sick of hearing about it. It's, the reason I still have a job and I'm still kind of relevant. I do love it. I mean, I love having fans. I love this part of it. I'll be honest, when I first won, I didn't like the limelight. I was really nervous. I couldn't do interviews. Like, I probably couldn't do this here with you guys. I would have been too nervous. Obviously, I've gotten over that, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I love every second of it. It is kind of weird, 17 years later, that I'm still relevant. Not even when I don't play a full schedule, I don't do a whole lot. I think some of the younger kids may not know who I am as much. Some of the ones that are just now coming up, but anybody that's been playing for 10 years obviously knows who I am. And I've only been asked in a poker room twice now who I am. Outside of that, everybody's known. I was in Uruguay once, and I was in Russia once, and I got asked twice, who am I? But everybody at the table, looked at him like, what in the hell was your problem? I instantly knew who to pick on.
Yeah, right. Well, how is that then? Like the whole, you're a country guy, you didn't like the limelight at first, and you're instantly, like overnight, a very recognizable figure, name. You had to get used to it, but what is that like to be famous, to go into a poker room and everybody knows who you are, whether they're up in your face or not is one thing, but just everybody knows who you are. That seems like kind of a surreal thing.
It's definitely surreal. I got really fortunate in a lot of ways. One, my episode didn't air. We played it in March, and it didn't air until August. So I got a little bit of a breather between when I won and when I got famous. I did David Letterman. I did some other shows leading up to that. So the first show I ever did was David Letterman. I told them they're crazy. There's no way in hell I'm doing it. That's just not going to happen. Obviously, I got talked into it. So I did that. I did Good Morning America, 2020, Cold Pizza, all these different shows. And it really got me ready for when it started airing on TV. When it first started airing, it wasn't really that big a deal. It was a 7-week series. But by the end of it, when they started to re-show it all the time, and by the time the World Series rolled back around again the next year, poker had taken off massively and just really exploded. And it was, pretty cool. My second tournament that I played was the WPT, and made the final table of that one. And, so that was really cool to have that follow up the main event. And then I kind of just stopped playing for a while and became more of a homebody, I guess. But then I started traveling a whole lot again. And ever since I've been playing, but I like playing the lower stakes. I like having fun. I like the RecPoker side of poker. When I tell people, why I don't win 10Ks, I play about 1 or 2 10Ks a year. It's hard to win when you don't play them.
Yeah, and you've been a great contributor to RecPoker. I mean, I know you've, in terms of what your writing has been and those sort of things, like people can relate to you, but you also, it's not just, here's a guy who just happened to win this one big tournament. You've been able to give strategy and give some input to recreational players playing those smaller stakes. I know you've written parts of books and that sort of thing. So, what is it, I guess, about the smaller stakes that's the draw? What is it that kind of attracts?
I never wanted to be a poker player. I mean, that was never my dream to be a poker player. I like the having a steady paycheck. I like the consistency and the safety of that. But after getting second and then reworking my deal with PokerStars, I realized it was more profitable to quit my job and become a full-time poker player. That being said, I didn't want to go risk my whole bankroll in playing cash. I had a pretty good job. I have a pretty good gig with PokerStars, and they take care of me. So at the end of the day, I get to enjoy poker, and I much more enjoy poker playing it at lower stakes with people that are having fun than people that are sitting there and listening to music and not talking and not engaging with people. So if I'm looking to play poker, I'm going to look and find the fun table or the table that's either drinking or just, cutting up, or I guess today, any table that's actually running. But, so that's always what I've looked for. I want to enjoy the game. And I think that's why after, 20 years of playing, I still enjoy the game and I still do like it, because I don't have the risk or the stress of going broke playing in a big game. And I get to have fun when I'm playing.
And take us back a little to that sort of 2003 year. What drew you to the World Series of Poker in the first place, back before it was like I mean, you made it a thing that it became such a bigger deal, but what drew you initially to it before there was the Moneymaker Effect?
Well, I like being in casinos. I like playing blackjack, and I liked pit games essentially. But every time I went to the casino, I left broke, and it's never really fun to do that. So the movie Rounders came out. Me and my buddy started playing poker around the kitchen table. We'd play wild card games, Chase the Queen, Acey Deucey, all those type games, and it was dealer's choice. So when it got to this one guy, he always picked Hold'em, and we all cringed and said, "This is the worst game ever," because at the time there was only there was only limit Hold'em. There was really no such thing as no limit Hold'em back then. If you went to Tunica, you could play limit Hold'em, and that was it. So we would play 1-2 limit Hold'em and just fold on his, so we would get through it real fast. So we could go back to play match the pot games. But over time, I started going down to Tunica and went to the casino and realized that I could go in there and not go broke, which was really great. And then one trip I was down there and someone told me, "Hey, you can play online poker. Go to PokerStars and check it out." Went back home, thought, well, this is going to be a scam, but tried it anyways. I was like, "Hey, this isn't too bad." And, started playing. And next thing you know, I turned $86 into $2.5 million, which I wrote a book that said 40.
Yeah, I thought I saw both of those things. Why did you go with 40 instead of 86?
Honestly, I thought it was 40. The night that you got to realize, I was, again, the most nervous person on the planet, and I won the World Series of Poker. And that night, they put all these microphones in my face.
Yeah.
And, they started asking me all these questions, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And they're like, "How much was your buy-in? How much did you get in for it?" And I'm like, "I think it was $40. Because I remember I played a $40 satellite, and I guess I played an $86 satellite. Well, I went with 40, and no one ever corrected me. It wasn't told to me until 12 years later that it was 86. So I went out to the Isle of Man, and I was playing over there in a home game, and one of the data guys came up to me. He's like, "Do you know your tournament was an $86 buy-in?" And I said, "Well, for the last 12 years, I did not know that." No. He actually,
the book says 40.
The book says everything. I've got a picture. Yeah, right here. It says turning $40. I have a picture framed in my house that says turning $40 into 2.5. I just, for 10, 12 years, I just thought it was $40. But he said, no, the actual ticket that I used was the $86 ticket. And that got me into the $615 tournament, which got me my seat into the World Series. So I had to go back and change everything that I had done in my life for the last decade. And
yeah, it kind of feels like you've been living a lie.
It did. My ROI dropped significantly. I thought I was a good player, and I just found out I wasn't. It dropped in half. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, that day was really bad when you realize that you're half as good as what you thought you were.
So do you think, after you won, the main event tripled? And do you think if people had known it was an $86 entry that maybe those numbers aren't there? I mean, people.
No, I don't think it made one bit of difference.
No, of course not.
Honest, the year before, an amateur won it the year before by the name of Robert Barton. And Robert's a great guy. He's got he's a good guy. But the problem is he comes off as a very smart individual. He went to MIT, and he just doesn't relate well with people that want to get into poker and think that they have a shot because, again, he's it's either a pro winning or some super smart guy. And then they see some dumb hick come and win it, and they're like, "Whoa, hell, if he can do it, that's what got it started." It had nothing to do with $40, $86. Hell, I could have bought straight into the tournament. They just see me win it, and they look at my face, and they're like, "Oh, wow, okay, well, hell, now I can do it." So, I mean, that's why RecPoker is probably born. I mean, because people think they can do it, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, because the MIT, it's a recreational player that wins it the year before, but MIT, well, that's MIT. Like, how many of us can pretend we have that? Whereas if you're, if you feel like the perception of you was, he's an accountant, so he's smart, clearly, but he seems like an everyday Joe. He's relatable. He seems like he has fun playing. I want to have fun playing. Maybe I could do it too. So I think you're right. I think it wasn't just that an amateur won it. It was that you won it. With your personality, your outgoingness, even though you said you got sort of camera shy there afterwards, I think it was that piece. Like, Jim Reid sitting up there in Canada drinking a Grolsch right now thinking, maybe I can be Chris Moneymaker.
Bring it on.
not everybody can be Chris Moneymaker, but it was the perfect storm. I'll be honest. The NHL lockout was going on when they started airing it on TV. So ESPN was kind of sort of like now trying to look for things to put on TV. Right now they're putting on Korean baseball and cornhole and God knows what else. Well, back then they were just putting on poker nonstop because that was getting the ratings. You see poker on a lot of different channels still, because again, there's not a whole lot to put on TV at this present time. So, but
Chris, did you have a follow-up?
It was getting huge ratings.
Yeah. When did that first sort of become a reality for you? When did you sort of like, as these episodes were airing, when did it first sort of like dawn on you that this is actually becoming a pretty big deal? Like, what do you remember a moment that sort of like made you understand that?
I guess the biggest moment for me was actually when the WPT aired. It was February. I think it aired like right before the main event started for the next year. And they did the promos like we have Moneymaker and, it's some big promotion. Because again, the World Series was kind of, I don't say manipulated. That's not the right word. It was scripted because they edited it for 6 months. So they did a really good job of writing stories and gathering hands and gathering player profiles, which was great for poker. That's what made poker so interesting is you could develop characters and players. And that's why I think a big reason why today you see people that from that time frame, whether it be Daniel Negreanu, Phil Hellmuth, Mike Matusow, myself, they're still kind of they're the poker superstars, not the younger generation guys. Some of it is, their personalities maybe, but a lot of it is the poker was just delivered in a different medium back then. There were a lot more stories and a lot more personality, where now they focus on the gameplay and it's not edited 6 months later. So it's more about the game than it is the players. And I think that's why, I'm still relevant 17 years later. And you see the guys, all the guys, Phil Ivey, everybody that's relevant is, basically from that era for the most part. I mean, obviously you have a few outliers, but for the most part, it's the people that came back from the old school era. Back when Rob was a young man.
Rob, were you ever a young man? He's shaking his head. No,
never. No, he's making a great point, though. If you think about poker and TV, there was this period of time where you had all of these heroes that were playing, and everybody knew their names and who is this guy and who is this. Everybody knew who they were. You had some of the guys that you don't want to talk about anymore, but the Phil Hellmuths and the Daniel Negreanus and the Phil Ivies and those guys, and they had characters. Huck Seed was one of them. All these different characters, and everybody knew who they were. And today you look at the roundup at the main event final table, and most of the time you've never seen these guys before. So there was that period of time right after the Moneymaker Effect where there was a huge amount of really personalities in poker that everybody knew who they were. Now everybody puts on their headphones and their sunglasses and nobody knows who they are, and they don't talk and they don't have any personality, so nobody gets into them or anything. So yeah, it was a different time, definitely.
So what do you think it'll take to have another poker boom? I mean, do you think that's even possible in this day and age, or is that sort of a one-time thing, or what would it take to see kind of the next wave of poker growth?
Well, there's two things. One, it's never going to be like it was in 04, 05, 06, because you had millions of people coming to play the game that had no clue what they were doing, and there was no literature out there to teach them. So it was basically just a free-for-all of whoever could take the money fastest. The only way that we're going to see any kind of boom or explosion like that is going to be if the United States legalizes online poker nationwide. And also you see emerging markets like India and China coming on. There are mass growth going on in those areas. And obviously if women come into the game, there's, women back in the day, I would say, 1% of the field was women, and now you're inching on maybe 5-10% of the field might be women today. I mean, it's definitely grown 10x factor probably, but still there's, obviously a big growth area there. But the problem is you're never going to get what everybody wants is the boom where everybody came in and didn't know what they're doing. Now there's
right.
so much material out there to learn that even though people will come in and start playing, they're going to come in better prepared and better. You know, they're not going to just be literally punting off money. Which, I mean, I could take a person, teach them how to play poker in 2 hours in 2004, send them to the casino, and I can guarantee they were going to make money. You're never going to get that again, unfortunately. So if you're looking for just like free money flying from the sky, it's probably not going to happen. But there's definitely some things that could develop and give us a boost in player numbers.
So here's a question from one of the folks that's listening in. Rob Adsom asked you this question. I'm sure you've answered this question a million times, but can you talk about what was going through your mind during the famous King 7 bluff against Farha? Did you decide when you made the turn raise that you were following through on the river? What range did you put Farha on, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we got the heads up. We talked about doing a chop, and when we were talking to that, I had a 2-1 chip lead, and Sam thought he deserved more money, like more than half of the money. I said, split it in two and play for the bracelet. He said, well, he thinks he deserves more. We should just put all the money together and play for it all. Huh. So immediately, you know, it's a slap in the face thinking he's that much better than me. So I basically told him to F off and let's play. But during that conversation, I realized that he thought he was that much better than me. And I wasn't the smartest guy in the shed, but I knew if I'm better than someone else, I want to keep the pot small and I want to use my experience to try to whittle them down. And if you go back and look at the coverage, Farha repeatedly claims that pros don't like playing with him because he puts a ton of pressure on them, but he doesn't do that against amateur players. He tends to try to use his experience and milk them. So throughout the entire tournament, you would see Farha would put extreme pressure on just about everybody, except for myself, Tumor Benvenisti. You wouldn't see him playing big pots with us generally. It was always against, you saw him several times against Telmuth and Amir Vahidi and a couple other guys. But he just kind of avoided the amateurs and was just waiting for us to make mistakes. Well, in knowing that, I know that he wants to keep the pots as small as possible. So I know going in, I can push him around a little bit and make a big play. And when this hand developed, by the time we got to the turn, and he called my turn raise, I put him on this, what's different today versus 2003? In 2003, you put people on a hand. It wasn't a range of hands. It wasn't, I think he has this, or this. It was, okay, he has the ace of spades with the 9 of clubs. I mean, you're putting people on hands. So I gave him like middle pair with an ace high flush draw. So my plan on the river, since I had a king high flush draw, was if the spade came, I was actually going to check. I was actually going to give up and think that, if he calls me on the turn, he's probably on the draw and he's going to have me beat. He's not going to call me unless he has the nut flush draw. And if he already has a flush, he's going to re-raise me all in on the turn. So I'm pretty sure at this point that he's got a pair with the nut flush draw. And that's kind of what I put him on. And so when it bricked off, I knew if it didn't come a spade, if I hit my straight or if it came a brick, I was going to fire all in no matter what. I was going to follow through. I'd already made my mind up that, I was firing anything that wasn't a spade. And if a spade came, I was going to check. And if he ended up betting, I was going to have to make a crying call. And I don't think I'm ever folding king high flush there, but it definitely would not have been fun. I didn't want to, honestly, I was sitting back thinking on the turns, like, I just hope a spade doesn't come. I hope I don't hit one way on my hand. I just knew he was relatively weak. I really was surprised when he called on the turn, but once he called on the turn, I pretty much had a good idea that he had just a one pair type. And then again, this is, a different time. The way I played that hand, the way I looked in that hand, I would have snap called myself today. I mean, you don't fold top pair against someone that plays the hand that way and then looks the way I looked. I mean, it's funny going back and look at some of the older coverages to seeing how many tells and how many mistakes were made and how lines were so different back then. And if you played the lines the same way today, you're just going to get destroyed. So
that's so interesting. Go ahead.
No, so it worked in 03, but I don't think it's working in 2020.
It's so interesting because we had Jerry Yang on recently too, and he kind of said the same thing when he made a big call against somebody. Like if they would have just shut up, whatever, like now there are these verbal tells going on that right now it seems like everybody just picks up on, but back then it was just sort of loose lips and loose facial expressions and all that stuff.
The only book you had was Mike Carroll's Book of Tells. Everybody read that book, but outside of that, no one knew any other book. And basically, the whole premise of his book was strong is weak and weak is strong. So, I mean, other than that, no one knew to not talk or not, they didn't know what, scratching your nose or looking down at your chips, how you held your cards, all these things that you look for now. They didn't know any of it. No one knew it. I will say most people still don't know about it, but when you start playing at higher levels, people do. But, in 2003, definitely there were very, very few people that knew to look for things.
Andrew, did you have something there?
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that, Chris, I was just how the game has changed from when you won it to now. I mean, how has your game changed? And like with as much how everything's kind of been analytical and how everybody's using solvers. I mean, a lot of people, that's a discussion that's actually bad for the game. I mean, what's your opinion on that, and what have you done to change your game as it's kind of evolved into 2020?
Well, I've had a lot of coaches, first of all. I've had some mental coaches. I've had poker coaches. I've had poker groups. I've signed up for poker training courses. And honestly, when I teach people too, I learn that way. Just having discussions about poker, whether people are worse than you or better than you, is going to help your game. But obviously, if they're better than you, it's definitely going to help your game. But it's always being open to new ideas and finding out. One of the biggest things I was always good at was when I busted out of a tournament or I made what I deemed a mistake in a tournament, I could always run back to a group of people and ask them what would they have done. And even, it's funny because you can play a hand like Ace King, which seems so face up, like this is, something you definitely should do. And then you ask 6 or 7 people and they all give you different answers how you should have played it. So that's how I've changed my game over the years. I do know GTO to an extent. I know, ranges and all that stuff. I've studied all the cool terminology and the hands that you're supposed to play, which we didn't know back in 2003, and how to adjust based on blind levels and based on position. Again, this was all stuff we didn't even know. It's sad what we didn't know in 2003. I mean, I remember I was abusing the bubble in 2003, and I didn't even know I was doing it. I just did it instinctively because I knew I had a big stack, and I knew everybody else wanted to make $17,000 or whatever it was. So I was like, well, he doesn't want to bust, so I'm just going to shove all in. And it worked. And so I found out a lot of stuff during that tournament just by mistake, just by natural playing. But I had to fine-tune it over the years. But the biggest thing for me personally was I had to realize that if I'm playing in a live setting, not so much online, but more in a live setting, that I can't study people too well or too good because they're going to play different against me than they do everybody else. So I have to be aware that people play polarized against me. They're either going to come at me or they're going to avoid me. And I have to, so I have to study people a little bit differently when they play against me. And, I got really good at that, knowing when, people were getting crazy eyes and wanting to come at me and make plays, and I could really pick them off. And then people that just sort of want to stay out of my way. And it was pretty easy to see that after a while. But it took some adjustment for sure.
Well, what I love about that is just, we've got all this great phraseology now, like you're talking about, punish the bubble, whatever. But, you were using instinct, you were using logic in those situations. And I think for me, that shows the power of learning principles more than the micro learning. Like, learn the different stages of a tournament. What should be happening on the bubble? What are people thinking in the bubble? So the micro learning is good. Maybe the solvers are good, but just these principles of saying, just asking yourself, what's going on here in the dynamic of the tournament right now? And then how do you adjust to counteract that? I love that. And the other thing, of course, I love because, we promote it all the time on the show is learning community. Like especially recreational players that we don't have 40 hours a week to commit to learning. So spend an hour or 2 a week with people that are all learning different things, and then, study a book or study a video or talk about your hands. I'm such a huge proponent of learning in community. Plus it's just way more fun, right? You build relationships.
That's it. And I'll be honest, when you talk about these solvers and talk about GTO, it's great when you're playing a 50K buy-in against elite competition. But if you go take your GTO and you go try to play it at your local casino in the $50 nightly, you're going to get chewed up and spit out. I mean, you got to play exploitatively there or you're going to get killed. When you're playing against top-notch competition, yeah, you might want to veer towards GTO and play a little bit more optimally sort of like the whole kill Phil back in the day where you just move all in pre-flop. You play, the proper ranges against good players. But even now, I mean, I think, even more now, I've been playing suboptimally against professional players even more because there've been all these solvers are coming out and you kind of know what ranges they're playing, and you can actually, play a little bit more suboptimally against them and do quite well. I think the exploitive style is definitely the way to go when you're playing cash, and it definitely doesn't hurt in tournaments.
So what sort of advice would you have then for the recreational players? Most of the folks that are listening to the show they're playing home games, they're playing bar leagues when they're open, they're playing the $100 under tournaments at the casino, and then sometimes moving up or whatever. But they want to play, they want to have fun, they want to build relationships, but they do want to get better. So what would you advise for those of us who are in that camp that maybe just have a couple hours a week or a few hours a month to devote to this game that we love?
Well, it's not rocket science. I mean, the first thing is, the biggest and most important thing you could ever have is bankroll management. Don't go try and play $1,000 tournament when your bankroll's, $15,000. You need to be able to realize what is good, proper bankroll management, first of all. After that, it's just really, to get good at the game, you talk with people. But like if I go into sitting down on a bar league game, I can sit down and I can tell you who can play and who can't play within 5 minutes. You look for people that come in with backpacks on. Anybody that shows up at a bar league game or a small buying game wearing a backpack, they kind of know what they're doing. You watch for people that try to teach you at the table. Usually people that teach you at the table think they're a lot better than what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing you just got to realize is as you're sitting at the table, it's more about observation. You look and say, okay, this guy's just having drinks. He's here for fun. So I'm never going to bluff this guy. This guy over here with his backpack thinks he's really good. So I'm going to bluff this guy. And you just go from there and start paying attention. The game is more observation than anything else. I mean, you don't really have to go study the game so much. You just have to study what your opponents are doing and then just pay attention to position. Position is so crucial in poker. And as an amateur player, I think that's probably the biggest overlooked thing, or the two things I think amateurs overlook more than anything are playing position and then stack sizes, knowing how to adjust to stack sizes when you're playing off a 10 big blind stack versus a 50 big blind stack. And anytime you've played in those bar league games, you know that you can go from a 100 big blind stack an hour ago to a 2 big blind stack and you didn't play a hand because it moves up super fast. So you have to know. Basically, if I was to learn anything, I want to know how to play under a 20 big blind stack. I want to perfect that part of my game because, first of all, most bar league players don't know how to play that. Second of all, you're going to be there very quickly in most nightly tournaments and things like that. So if I was going to spend my time, that's where I would spend it. Learning my call fold ranges, learning my shove ranges, my call ranges, and things like that.
Oh, it's so good. I totally agree with that assessment in terms of, the position, the stack sizes. I think that is the thing because when you play the small and buy-in tournaments, you're playing 80% of the tournament at 40 big blinds or less. Like you start at 100 big blinds, and even if it's in a casino, oftentimes within, three levels, which is
first 3 levels that give you poker, then after that,
right, which is usually an hour or less, right? 20-minute levels, 15-minute levels, and so you're playing. I think people are spending their time learning how to play 200 big blinds deep when they're maybe going to do that once a year, once every 2 years, that kind of thing. And the observation thing, I think is super interesting too. And it seems like you just kind of naturally understand human behavior more than some others too, because I think some of us, or at least I, struggle with, okay, I can observe everything in the world, but I have to make the connections. Okay, what do I do with that? Oh, okay, well, they think they're better than they are. Okay, great observation. I need to know what to do with that. And I think that's maybe some of the off the felt, discussions that we need to have are, okay, what do we do with that? So I'm not trying to figure it out on the fly. It becomes second nature.
Right. And that, that is kind of, I don't know, it's always become second nature to me is, what is someone's motivation in being there? Obviously, if you show up and play the main event, you kind of know. But even when you're playing the main event, I start up conversations with people all the time. And, they'll tell you their whole history as you're sitting there. I was playing in a game. The guy told me he played 1-2 and won a home game satellite to get to the main event one year. I know this guy's scared money. I know that I'm going to brutalize this guy. And it's funny. I used to teach for the WPT, and I gave this speech about how if I sit down at the table with you, poker is a game of information. So I'm going to sit down, and first of all, I'm a talkative guy. I'm going to talk to everybody at the table, and you're going to tell me your life story because I'm Chris Moneymaker, and 2, I'm a nice guy. So you're going to tell me, hell, I haven't played poker in 2 years. I play every single day. You're going to tell me everything there is to know about you. So I have the poker camp, and then we have the tournament later, and we're about ready to play this tournament. And I'm sitting there, and this young guy sits down next to me, and I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? Nice to meet you. I'm Chris. Yada, yada. Start talking to him, and this 80-year-old lady comes up behind me, and she goes, excuse me. And we both turn to her and look, and she's like, do not talk to this man. He is not your friend. He is trying to get information from you. Do not talk to him. She was in my seminar, and she heard, and she came over to protect this
that's fantastic.
In the tournament. So I was like, all right, fair enough.
He is not your friend.
I tell people all the time, when I'm talking to you at the poker table, I might act like I'm your friend, but I'm there to take all your money and make you cry. I mean, I don't want to hurt anybody, but if you're at the poker table, you should be playing with money you can afford to lose, and I want to make you lose it all.
And I want to be the one to cause you to lose it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, I don't want you to get it. It needs to all come to me eventually.
Right. Speaking of not wanting to give my money to anybody, John, did you have something? John, are you on there? He might be having problems. I know he wants to.
I think
share
I
something.
got my audio fixed now.
There we go.
Really
John likes sort of these dramatic pauses. He likes us to wait for him. It gives him sort of a power trip. So, okay, here you go, John.
I've been waiting for him to move.
Anyway, I was going to say, you've been playing poker for a while, and you're still pretty passionate about it. What, out of anything you could play, what is your favorite thing to play these days?
Mixed games. I mean, I'm more playing 8-game mix or dealer's choice type games, something to keep it fresh. Especially if we were to play shorthanded in these times, I wouldn't play unless it was mixed games. No limit's great and all, but there's only so much you can do with 2 cards. So give me mixed games. Let me play a wide range of things, and that's what I enjoy doing. Most of the home games that I play, we play mixed games.
Do you have a favorite mixed game?
I like them all, to be honest. If I had to say my favorite, it's probably Omaha 8 or better. But I also like Raz a lot. I get really shitty cards, so I'm good at that.
Maybe I should pick up Raz.
And then you'll start picking up big hands. I think what John's trying to get is, John's our mixed game expert. We're all starting to learn mixed games because we think that's kind of a fun way to introduce us. Some of us have never or very rarely played mixed games. So we're just starting to do that. We've started this deal once a month. On the second Wednesday every month, we play a mixed game. We do a home game every single night, but like the second Wednesday, we do a mixed game. So John, is introducing us to all of these games. Like I think something called Triple Stud is this coming Wednesday, and so we're learning too, because I think I love Hold'em. I'm still trying to learn that game. But
questions.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Real fast. Are you playing for money?
No.
Okay, I was going to say John's probably locked the door if you are. But let me teach you guys this game.
I say you want in, don't you?
Yeah, I got something you guys need to know. No, we just do it's a free home game on Poker Stars every night. We play for a little bronze pin and shout out on the podcast. It's just a fun way of building community. And so if we talk you into playing on a Wednesday night, you can crush us in Triple Stud.
Yeah, I love it. I play home games just about every night with a different group of people. I play a little minor celebrity home game with some other pros. There's a bunch of pros that we play together. Actually, we play every night in mixed games a lot. So we're always splashing around on home games. And with this pandemic, you can't play online poker, legally. You can't do anything. So home games is really where it's at. And it's, what we love more than anything is getting on Zoom and needling people as we bust them. I mean, it's fun when you see either a poker pro or an actor that you've seen on TV, and you go over a bad beat and you watch them cringe in the screen and laugh at them.
Oh, we've started doing that too, where we supplement it with the Zoom thing. So if you're ever interested, I mean, obviously you got a million things going on, but if you ever want to jump on our home game, let us know. We'll put you on the Zoom and we'll talk about playing Triple Stud with you.
I'll be honest. I used to have a million things going on. I don't have a million things going on anymore.
Don't tell me that, dude. I'm going to be all over you. I'm going to be up in your business.
Oh, you're in trouble now, Chris. That's bad news, man.
Well, listen, I won't play home games where you're playing no limit, but if you have a Wednesday night or something where you play a mixed game, I'll come on and educate and help and answer some questions.
Well, we'll talk about that seriously. So like July 8th, we're playing triple stud. So we'll talk about that deal. We'll put a bounty on you if you end up playing. We'll give somebody a hat or something. But yeah, we'll see if we can work that out because that would be so fun. People would love that. What's that?
What kind of hat do you send me?
We'll send you a RecPoker hat. Yeah, Andrew's got one there. Andrew's got one right there.
I'll take it.
All right. We got another question. I know we're going to wrap up pretty soon, but Jen Nelson wants your perspective on what the likelihood is of the World Series having a live main event this year, or should we just assume we're out of luck until next year?
Well, are you talking about a live main event somewhere outside the U.S.? I think that might be a possibility.
I think she's probably referring to the Vegas.
I know what she's referring to, but anybody. I would assume most of you guys are in the U.S.
Yes.
And as you all know, we suck at this virus. So I really don't think that we're going to have live poker safely. And I don't see any live tournaments going off this year. I would be really, really shocked. And I think it would be almost irresponsible for someone to have it in the U.S. I could see something like WSOP Europe or WSOP Asia, something like that, where maybe they've got the virus more contained and they just don't want Americans come. I could see something along those lines, but I'll be honest. I mean, I just don't know how, with what we have going on in this country right now, how we're going to be able to get together and have a mass just poker tournament. I just don't see it happening, because this time frame right now is where we're supposed to be going down in the virus. It's summertime. It's supposed to be poof, magically going away, and it's not. So I can't imagine. They're talking about delaying it to the fall. The fall is probably going to be much worse. So I don't see it.
Yeah, that's well said. I tend to agree.
I mean, maybe we have a hybrid where they do online and it merges at the end to, a final table or two of real life poker. I think there's been some discussions about that. But then again, you get to the situation where, I'm in Mississippi. I have to travel to New Jersey or Nevada to play. I'm not going to be playing in the World Series of Poker this year, because I'm not going to risk myself or my family to go travel and play when I don't have to. And that, that's a big, risk for some people, and big expense too.
No, for sure. Well, any other final questions from the panel or from the folks that are listening on the line? I'll give you just a couple seconds here to either unmute or chime in. Chris Jones, and then Rob.
Yeah, I guess one follow up to that. Speaking of kind of online poker, and you're somebody who's tapped into a lot of like sort of the online poker world. At least you've been an ambassador for them. What is your thought about the likelihood or the outlook for online poker in the U.S.?
I've always been very bearish on it. Unfortunately, I don't think, it's something that's on the top of people's radar. And I don't think politicians really understand the amount of tax revenue it can generate, because of the states that we're in. We don't share liquidity, and there's just not enough player base there to generate enough revenue. When you start talking about sports betting and things like that, well, that's a lot more money. And that's why you see sports betting getting legalized around the U.S. That being said, you saw small progress being made in individual states. If you see a state like California, New York, Florida, Pennsylvania is a big state. That you see some of these states, these bigger states that get it, and they start seeing the tax revenue generate, then you'll start seeing more and more states come on, because these states are going to be really cash strapped, especially from this virus. But I think the virus has definitely killed about any kind of momentum that was going on. I just don't know if they're not meeting or they're talking about other things, because I haven't heard anything about any states legalizing since before the virus took hold. So if we ever get back and start getting normal, I know that we have states like Florida and Michigan are both relatively close. They've both had bills ready to go and almost been legalized. I know there's another state that I think's been legalized. I want to say it's West Virginia or Wisconsin, something like that. I know there's another state that should have online poker here starting up. I think it's been approved, and it has to be like another year from now. But I could be wrong on that. I haven't looked at it since any of this stuff started. But a long way to answer a simple question, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I'm a rosy person, aren't Full of good things.
Well, you're a logical, honest, transparent person. I love it, man. Rob, did you have something?
Yeah, I didn't really have a question. I just want to thank Chris Moneymaker for being who he is, because I think of all of the interviews that I've heard on different podcasts throughout the years, one thing has always shined through is that your love of poker and the way you want everybody to be able to enjoy it. You know, you don't put on airs, you don't put it on like I'm the greatest thing in the world. You're just so real, so down to earth. You love the game. You love sharing the game. And I think that's just a testament to who you are. So I really want to thank you for just being Chris.
I appreciate it. I changed my name for you.
The champ. There it is. Well, I don't know a better way to kind of close off our questions and comments than that. I think we all ascribe to that. You know, I think you're just so relatable, and we love having you on. It took us 186 to get you on, but it wasn't for lack of trying. You know, we'll see you again in another 3 or 4 years, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I could be number 500 on the list.
Right.
That's awesome.
We'll celebrate number 500 with you, man. No, you be careful if you're not super busy. We'll have you on every other week.
I'm going to sit by my phone waiting for that Wednesday night invitation to the home game, and it's just never going to come. They're going.
It's going to be there. It's going to be there, my friend. We're going to send you a hat.
185 say no.
we might I have to talk to the man Jim Reid. We might even send you an honorary bronze pin. Now we don't give those away. You've got to win one.
You'd be on a short list. Chris.
We've never given away an honorary bronze pin. Maybe
I don't do participation awards. So.
Okay, so you gotta win.
Man. He's a competitor. That's what we want.
We will wait to send you the hat until you win the tournament, then we can send it along with the pin. So
I don't want anything I did not win.
That would I love it. That would be so fun to have you play and jump on the Zoom thing, man. We would have a ball with that. But you know, let's let you go. We spent more time with you than we said we would. But any kind of final parting words as you go off into the sunset tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope Jim's not a crier. I mean,
he is a little. He is a little.
No tears. No tears.
Let's see. Final two.
You guys in the home game, and I don't want to hear anybody complaining. No bad beats. Just take it like a man, say good game, and get off the stream.
All right, Chris. Well, thank you again so much for your time. We'll be in touch. It won't be another 186. Now we know how to get a hold of you. So we'll do this again.
Now I got to go change my damn number. All right, cool.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks again, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Take care.
Take care, guys. Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Night.
Yeah, take care. We're gonna hang on here and take care of some stuff. You could just jump off there. All right. There he goes, Chris Moneymaker. I had fun. How about you guys?
How could you not have fun with Chris Moneymaker?
No kidding.
He's just the best. He's really a great ambassador for the game, and you can see why the Moneymaker effect happened. Just hearing him talk, right? I mean, it's like it became this relatable event that people were like, that guy seems like a cool guy. I could do this. Well,
everything from rounders and growing up playing Follow the Queen and all that stuff. It's every person's story. It's this, he's such a natural fit for that. It's wonderful. Sorry, Andrew.
No, you're fine. Like Rob said, he hasn't really changed. It doesn't seem like he's still just the most approachable guy. One of the most approachable guys you're going to come across. I mean, for somebody that has had the success that he has had and what he did for the world of poker, I mean, he's still just the same old guy, it seems like. So.
Oh yeah, and I've heard lots of people talk about sitting down to play with him at like a 2-5 table at your local casino whenever he's there, and he's just having a blast, and everyone's having a blast with him. Really great guy.
Yeah.
I love that he goes out and wins the main event, and he's now talking about who he's getting coaching from and how he's trying to improve his game,
Mm-hmm.
and learning with other people whether they're better than you or worse than you. And I just think that's just exactly the right way to be thinking about all this stuff. And it's just impressive that he's able to maintain that kind of attitude despite his success. Remarkable.
The first time I went to the World Series of Poker, one of my favorite Chris Moneymaker stories is and this, he doesn't know this, but so I went the day before I started playing, I went into the just to kind of get the sense of it, so that when I went and actually played, I wouldn't be throwing and whatever. So I went in, and there was this there was like it was a 25K or 50K thing going on in the Amazon room, and I went in. It's like, and it's all the luminaries. It's like the Negranus, the Helmuths, the Ivies, whatever. And I'm like, oh, there's that guy, this guy. And then I went and I looked, and I went to go because I was going to play in the Deep Stack the next day, and I went and checked out the pavilion room where the Deep Stack was playing, and like I'm just looking around this room, and there's Deep Stack going on, and it's just a bunch of people I don't recognize, and I'm like, oh my God, there's Chris Moneymaker in the middle of it, the Deep Stack, and that's just what he's doing, right? He's just grinding away, loving the deal. He can't be bothered with this whatever high roller thing, and that's just, I don't know. It's just awesome.
That's why it's so relatable. I just love it. I love the story. I love his energy. Yeah, it was just had a super fun time. And then and just so that people know, we have tried to get Chris on before, but it's hard to get through agents and all of those things. And then Jim was up and played a tournament, a charity tournament up in Toronto. Chris was there. I think you asked him, hey, would you ever come on the podcast? Somehow you made that connection and then got in touch with his agent, and eventually he came on. So it wasn't like we weren't trying to get Moneymaker on, but it did take 168 to get there.
It's true. It took two Chris's, in fact, because Chris Jones had to notify me on Twitter that charity tournament was even happening. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known about it. And it was great. I just walked up to him and we just started talking about poker, and I said we were doing this RecPoker podcast, and he knew immediately what I was talking about, like recreational poker and how great it was to be dealing with recreational poker players and how much he loved that. And so we just knew it was going to take no time at all to get it going once we got it started. And how great is this? And we've got a few members here in the chat coming in. Martha, Jen, we got 3 Robs on the show tonight. Can you believe that?
Wow. That's way too many Robs.
Questions. That's too many Robs. Sorry, too many Robs. But how nice, this is exactly what this whole RecPoker thing is about, getting together and learning together and chatting together. So I just
that was fun. And we will approach him, see if we can get him on for a week from now into the triple stud thing. Let's see if we can make that happen. And
it's going to break his little heart if we don't. It sounded like he's going to be waiting by the phone. We got to
keep Somsky away. We don't want Somsky to win a mixed game title.
Bring in a ringer for that just so Somsky doesn't get it.
It's like what you guys did with the Canadians. Now you guys I lose that bet, and like now there's never any Canadians playing at night. Like once in a while Lita shows up, but that's it. Like where are the rest? Once they took it away from me, they're gone. That's gonna be the same thing here. All right,
wine.
I know.
That's the incentive. What?
I know. So we're gonna bring in ringers every mixed game to keep Somsky away from that. That
sounds fair.
Spin.
Sounds
he
fair.
Wins enough as it is.
He's got enough going for him, John Somsky. Just coming off a nice, relaxing vacation, I heard too.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it was. I actually had very little internet access, so it took me we had 3 new people sign up for the home game, and it took me about an hour just to get in to approve them.
Oh, John.
Because the internet access was so bad. I mean, I was sitting there talking with everyone, so it's not like I was just
right. But with Poker Stars, I can do some things for that group, but I can't approve members. So it's like you're the only one that can approve members the way that they have that set up. So it's kind of a bummer. So if you got admitted this last week to play, you owe Somsky a big favor because he's on vacation trying to log in just to give you access to the home game. So John, why don't we thank you for doing all that, John, and welcome back. But why don't we kind of turn it over to you to give us a little update on what's happening with the home games?
All right. Well, our monthly No Limit Hold'em home game is going to be on July 1st, which is the first Wednesday of the month. And that's the one that we do a monthly game, and we collect the point series for the player of the year. And then July 8th, as we had previously mentioned, is our mixed game triple stud. There is a video available, so go ahead and watch that if you're interested at all there or need any help on stud. And triple stud, by the way, is just a round robin of the 3 stud variants. So stud high, stud 8 or better, and then Raz. Which is
there's 3 games? We're playing 3 games?
Yes.
Oh my god!
I thought it was like some kind of a triple draw or something.
I thought it was a triple draw game.
We're playing 3 different
stud,
games.
There's no draw in stud.
I don't know this. Now we're playing 3 different games? Oh no!
It's basically the RSE out of horse. So that's what we're playing.
R.I.P. Good.
So we're not going to do the whole part. Okay. All right.
And then on Monday, July 13th, is going to be the June SDS Tournament of Champions.
Yeah.
So after June is over, I'll be posting up the people who are eligible to play. You can check that out on Facebook. You can check it out on Discord, and I'll probably also put it on the website as well. So you'll learn how to join and sign up for that Tournament of Champions.
And who on the core team still has to punch their ticket to get out of the losers lottery this month?
I do.
I'm in.
Uh-oh. I made it. Okay, we got a couple, maybe. Well, there's only 2 more days, and there's 3 of you, so I think this might solve itself. I'm excited to see. Someone's going to have to record it.
I haven't hardly
trying
been a
hard
chance to play, so.
last night to get in there, and I got second place. But second place doesn't get you anything. That's just the first loser.
That's just the first loser. You're right.
Yeah.
And way to go, first loser. And I just want to chime in there too, because we've been able to collect as many emails as we can from a lot of people, but there are 2 June winners that we do not have contact information for. So if you are, or Jacob K, who goes by Keck Geek online, or if you're Mark Foster, who goes by Anciano 1941, we need your email. We don't know how to invite you to this Tournament of Champions. So get that into us, Steve at rec.poker.
And I've been getting a number of questions about, are we going to be continuing the social distancing series in July? And after much discussion, we've decided that we are not going to continue the social distancing series into July. Instead, we are rebranding it, and it's going to be called the RecPoker Nightly Game Series.
Let's go.
The reason we're doing this is whether we're social distancing or not, we want to be able to get together. So we're going to be having this for the foreseeable future. As long as you keep on showing up, we'll keep on having the home games. And the social distancing series will be known as the RecPoker Nightly Series from now on.
It's just too good not to keep doing it. We're having too much fun. We can't stop. Yeah. Sorry, John, right. You've got a job for life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really not that much work, but anyway. Going on to June 22nd, we had Marble Jams, Jefferson Kupferberg, and that's his first SDS win or nightly series win. On June 23rd, Magra 44, Doug Drabeck got his 5th nightly series win. June 24th, Witchy Stuff, Leda Ligari got her 3rd win. On June 25th, and this is just disgusting, we had Magra 44, Doug Drabeck coming back for his 6th win.
And he's won a mixed game. He's got 7 wins.
Right. I mean, that really shouldn't be allowed.
And in one of those 2, he beat his kid's head. He beat his kid heads up.
Right.
Who also has a couple wins.
The force is strong in that family.
Everyone should be going after Magra 44, I think.
Drabeck, you're done.
I think we should put a bounty on him.
Oh, I like this.
Come on, Double D, we're going to put a bounty on you.
We haven't figured out what our Hall of Fame credentials are yet, but this guy's like going to get the Hall of Fame in the first year.
On June 26th, Michael Babker, got his 2nd SDS win. On June 22nd, we had Anciano 1941, Mark Foster, his 1st win. And on June 28th, JB Twin Cities, Joanne Bird, took it down for her 2nd win.
Go JB. And I don't know if Witchy Stuff is watching the YouTube version or listening to the audio version, but Witchy Stuff, way to go. That was fantastic. Keep rocking it up.
Don't make me mute you.
I know he'll do it. He'll do it.
Another Canuck.
All right. Great stuff, John. As always, always on top of that stuff. Thanks for all your work on that deal. All right. What do you say, Mr. Jones?
So in Memberland, July is approaching, and our July month is all focused around bluffing, the art and act of it, telling a good story. So I think we had a really great conversation. We'll be posting the seminar soon, so stay tuned for that.
And as an author yourself, telling a good story is near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, we dipped into some storytelling theory. which I think has some relationship to poker, which was
I love it.
a fun part of the conversation.
This one's probably my favorite so far, and I just love the way that you guided the conversation through the theory of bluffing and some of the more anecdotal stuff, the table play stuff. I just thought it was really well done. Looking forward to getting some feedback from the members about that.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this, and because of the Moneymaker thing, you're like, oh, I listened to the Moneymaker episode, and you're still listening. We did a section from that seminar in last week's podcast just to give people a flavor for the value of these seminars. So go back and listen to episode 167, I guess, if you want to get a flavor for how those seminars work. Anything else, Mr. Jones?
That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Andrew.
All right, last week we had our Learning with Content partners. We had Red Chip and Learn Pro Poker, so make sure to go check that out at rec.poker. Our next Learning with Partners will be July 8th at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, so make sure to go ahead and take a peek at that if you have a chance to stop by. Also remember, Learn Pro Poker is still running their summer sale, as Steve mentioned. It does end on July 1st. That's this Wednesday, in case anybody's wondering. So right now, its membership is $30 a month, or $305 annually. So that does end on the 1st. So go ahead and take a peek at that. Take advantage of that. It's a great value. Check that out at rec.poker/resources.
Fantastic. Robert.
Hey, we've got our book study coming up on Wednesday, July 1st. We're going through the book, The Game Plan by Matt Matros. Really interesting way of approaching poker for the newer player, the less sophisticated player maybe, adding a little aggression in your game. It's really a fun book. I've read it a couple times already now. I'm just trying to gain the concepts and trying to use them myself as I play, and it's really been a lot of fun. We also had a contest, and a guy named Philip Fuhrer won the PDF version of the book. Now, I've known this guy, who he is, because he used to have a Minnesota poker podcast a long time ago called the CPL podcast. I used to listen to it. I'm sure John's probably listened to it.
Oh yeah, I was. I think I was even interviewed on it once.
Nice.
So
that was probably before I knew you, because they haven't recorded anything for quite a few years now.
Yep.
But so anyway, he won that copy on the contest we gave out, and so we're hoping to see if he can join us for the Wednesday night book study. That should be a lot of fun. So that's at 6:30 Wednesday night, and come and join us. Should be a gas.
Yeah, I just started it today. I'm actually really looking forward to the discussion this one's going to bring in. I'm all the way through, almost to the end of the first rules. I'll easily be done by Wednesday, but I'm really excited to see just the discussion on other people's opinions on what they think of this so far.
Yeah, we're going to go through rules 1 through 4. If anybody's reading the book, I think we can get through 1 through 4. Like you say, Andrew, I think there'll be a lot of discussion. So we're going to try to get through 1 through 4. But I think that's a good stopping point. Read the first 4 rules and then talk about those and how you can incorporate them into your game.
And who's invited that? Any of our members, right? Any of our
right.
paid members are welcome to join that. So the information is in the membership site. If you don't know how to get there, get a hold of me or Rob or whoever, any way, shape, or form. And I know there's a few members that have already shown a lot of interest in jumping on there. I wasn't able to make the first session, but I did some of the editing, and it seemed like you guys are going to have a ball with this thing. So it seems like a great way to meet people, to have great conversation, to learn quite a bit. And grow your game and your community and all that stuff. So I'm super excited about it. Rob, man, thanks for leading the charge.
Yeah, we had 2 members on the last one, and that was a lot of fun. We got to talk to a couple of members, and they got to throw in their 2 cents and talk about some of their experiences. So it's a lot of it is just sharing each other's experiences and the way they look at the different concepts that we're talking about. And like Chris Moneymaker mentioned earlier, there's just talking to other people about their approaches. You play ace king, and 7 people have different ways of playing ace king. So nothing is standard, and it's all just community and learning together, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And I love the way that Rob's approaching this, which is that we're not in a rush to get through the material. So we're really taking the time. Like, one of the things that I love about this RecPoker community is we go off on these strategic tangents, and then we cover some really interesting territory that maybe wasn't in the agenda for that conversation, but it's so valuable. And once you get a few people in the room talking about this kind of stuff, I feel like the conversations that just grow out of the subject material are really, really valuable. And you just don't get those when you're just reading the book alone. So I think, if we only get through a couple rules, but we spend the time well, like I just can't wait. I'm looking forward to this every 2 weeks. You'll find me there for sure.
Tangent is a good word there, because we did go off on a few of those last week, but it was like you said, we got into good discussions with it. So it's just, you can't beat it.
And it sounds like Matt Matros will join us at the end of the whole thing, whenever that is, to do some Q&A and that sort of thing. So that's super awesome. So thank you guys for leading that charge. Mr. Reid, what do you got for us?
I've said my piece for today, man. Get this Jim Canadian guy off the mic. Let Steve take us out of here. I think we're just in. We're all in awe. I can't believe. I just like Chris Moneymaker was just here. We had this wonderful chat. And how great is it, by the way? He talked about the two things he would point out being position and stack sizes, and of course, those are the two things that Chris Jones chose to start our whole seminar program with, because he knows that's what the recreational players need to be focusing on. So shout out to you there, Chris.
And then when the hand or the question that was asked out of the chat was the bluff against Farha, and he broke that down too. So there's your next seminar topic, right? So yeah, phenomenal stuff.
And that hand in particular, I wanted to ask him about this, but I think we were kind of getting low on time. But like that hand in particular, I don't think anybody even knew what a blocker was, but it was the perfect hand because it had all the blockers. It blocked the straight, it blocked the flush. It was a blocker hand before people knew what blockers were.
That's so good.
Yeah,
Andrew,
and it was perfect. Well, it was just perfect because the way they thought about poker back then is you put them on an exact hand. You don't put them on a range. And so that was just showing what it was 17 years ago to what it is now is just insanely different. And I just wanted, it was a perfect transition for where we wanted to go with it too.
So good. Well, the last couple things that I have, one of them is, we're doing this Tuesday night thing. So tomorrow night, depending on when I air this, if we air it Monday or Tuesday, depending on when I get my editing done, either tomorrow night or tonight. But anyway, Tuesday, June 30th, we're going to do one more Tuesday night online play and hang. We call it the OPA. It's open, so it's an open OPA. And if you're playing in the home game, you can jump on to the Zoom thing. The link is right on the homepage at rec.poker. I'll be out there. Some other people will be out there. I will have breakout rooms. It'll just have a blast. So play the home game. Jump out there. Give us some feedback on what you think. It's something that we're considering doing more and more of in the future because we just love doing that thing. And then
Steve, that's for everybody, right? Not just for premium members. Anybody who's playing in the home game can come and join you and play face-to-face and hang out.
Absolutely. Yep. So for now, the home game is just wide open to whoever. The Zoom meeting is wide open to whoever. So yeah, jump on there, have a blast, and we can rip on each other a little bit. And I assume my kings will get cracked in 3 hands in, and then we'll be good. Then I'll just sit there and have conversations all night while the rest of you play. That's how it's been going. Queens, kings, aces, and ace king against ace 7 last night. So it's just what it is. It's bad beats, but it's like, okay, so I'll just be stuck on there for 3 hours talking to people while you all play. So I might just
close my way to close to live as we can get. You can watch Steve as you bust him.
Right. And then I win one and everybody's like, oh, you're so lucky you never get beat. Like, yeah. Where were you? Oh my God. All right. And then the only other thing I want to bring to the attention is the pins. So we're going to change things up a little bit with the pins. So through the end of June, it's still, you win a pin, we send it to you. You can win 1 pin per series. So if you win a mixed game, you can win 1 mixed game pin. You can win 1 SDS nightly game pin, that kind of thing. We'll send them off to you. It's getting more expensive than we thought to actually send them because of the shipping and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do though, is you still win the pins and I'll hold them for you. But if you're a premium member, if you're a paid member of rec.poker and you win a pin, we send it out. No charge or anything. If you order merchandise, or I'll hold it until you order merchandise, we'll send it out with the merch, no charge whatsoever. But if you win a pin and you're not a premium member or you're not ordering merch, but you still want the pin, we'll send it to you, but it's going to cost $10 just because we got to cover the cost of the pin and the shipping and that sort of stuff. And we ship it in a way so it's going to show up well for you. So just a little heads up on that deal. But I don't mind holding on to them and shipping them out whenever you order your new red hat or pink sweatshirt or whatever that is. So that's the deal. But we're so excited to continue those things every single night. That is so awesome. So with that, anything else that we missed, you guys, that needs to be shared with the community? Great stuff. Great episode. Great updates. All of that was awesome. Go to rec.poker. Sign up for our newsletter, man. That's the best way that you can probably stay tapped into everything that's going on if you're not listening to all of the announcement portion of the podcast. Thank you to Running Aces, Casino, Racetrack, and Hotel. Thank you to Website AMP. Thank you to Learn Pro Poker. Thank you to Chris Moneymaker. That was fantastic. Thank you, Jim Reid, Chris Jones, Andrew Feist, Rob Washam, John Somsky. Great stuff. Take care, everybody.